Well, good afternoon. It is 12:04. I'm Pamela Furr in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Glad to have you on board today. What?
It's Friday Eve all day long on the Matt Murphy Show.
You didn't do that.
As for Matt.
He's not listening. It didn't hurt him. It didn't show me on this doll where it hurt Matt Murphy. Nowhere on this doll did it hurt Matt Murphy. All right, Friday Eve. We are going to do Friday tomorrow, though. We are going to speak with Jay St. Clair tomorrow, who's a pal, who's a friend. And so that's happening. I just don't know what time yet. I'll find out and pass that on to you as soon as I know. We have several things to get into today. Sister Pamela, Dollar Store Reba, Ginger, what do you call me, Miss Ginger? I don't know what you call me. Don't call me anything like that. She's ticked off today. Surprise, surprise. This was not even anywhere near where I was going to go today until I saw the headline. And I got to tell you, I'm a little miffed. Now, let me just preface this before I get into why I'm ticked off. Let me just say, if you don't already know, Sister Pamela is from Gulf Country. I grew up in Gulf Land in North Carolina, Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Pine Bluff, all the pines. I grew up in that area. If you are a golfer, you are very familiar with Pinehurst. Now they're up to Pinehurst number 1 through Pinehurst number 10. They're about to complete Pinehurst number 10. The premier golf courses in the world are in Pinehurst. Not to mention all the other golf courses that are around in that area. And I'm not joking. Within a 100-mile radius, you're going to find, 20, 30 golf courses. It is golf heaven. So, I play some. I'm not good at it, but I play. And I do watch it from time to time, golf. If you go visit my father, if he's not on the golf course, at 81, by the way, if he's not on the golf course, he's watching the Golf Channel and he's buying golf clubs and he's buying golf shoes and he's all about golf. Golf, golf, golf. Here in Middle Tennessee, we do have some pretty decent golf courses, and we have some celebrities that are very much into golf. I'm thinking of Vince Gill right off the bat, and he's done his Vinny tournaments for years and years, and that's awesome. And he brought a lot of attention to golf from people who probably would not have ever even thought about golf as a sport. So that's cool. And there are some public golf courses here in Middle Tennessee. Here's the headline. Mayor Cooper to give $2 million towards golf course renovations. That ticks me off. That's $2 million of my tax dollars not going to schools, not going to SROs, not going to raise the salaries of police officers, not going to fix some of our streets and sidewalks, not going to cleaning up homeless camps that seem to have popped up everywhere in town, not paying the bills that we already have. No. $2 million going towards golf course renovations. I would think if you're flush with money, maybe that could be a priority. Nashville's not flush with money. Nashville has some problems. And you're going to give to... I understand the sentiment. Here's the story. This is from Channel 5. 2 Metro golf courses will receive major funding for renovations today. Shelby Park and Vinny Links. Mayor Cooper will give $2 million to the Tennessee Golf Foundation to lead these renovations. This is just in time for Shelby Parks, which is the oldest of the 7 golf courses in Nashville, to be renovated ahead of its 100th anniversary next year. This is also great news for all the young golfers learning to play at Vinny Links through the First Tee of Middle Tennessee. They had over 500 students as part of the program just last year. And mind you, I have no issue with that. Love to see young golfers on the golf course. Love that Vince Gill and others have donated and have started programs for young people to learn how to play golf. Love it. But why are my tax dollars going for this when there are other problems? I mean, am I wrong in this? I'm not trying to be heartless. The Tennessee Golf Foundation will work with Metro Nashville on the renovations starting next spring. We don't have $2 million to give to this. I don't know. I guess there's a way to look up how much money the Tennessee Golf Foundation has anyway. Do you even need our $2 million? Tennessee Golf Foundation financials. Let's see. Well, total revenue, $3 million, I'm rounding. Total functional expenses, $4 million. Total assets, $20 million. Total liabilities, $2 million. Net assets, $18 million. That doesn't sound like they're doing badly. I don't know when those numbers were. Here's another set of numbers. This is fiscal year 2023. This year, the projected revenue is $2 million. Projected expenses, $3 million. They're going to be in the hole a little bit. But am I supposed to make up that difference? I have wonderful causes that I get involved in. I'm sure you have wonderful causes that you get involved in. And if this is something that you're passionate about, you can give freely yourself. My tax dollars are supposed to go to schools and police and roads. And then if you have any extra, then go to our public parks. Am I right about that? I know I'm right about this. I'm not crazy. All right, I might be crazy, but I'm right about this. That bothers me. Unless someone else can write me or call me and put this in perspective where I can understand as a tax-paying citizen, I pay every year my property. I have to write a check for my property taxes. It doesn't come out monthly. It doesn't come out through a mortgage. I write a check, and it has increased significantly after Nashville passed that property tax hike that it did. 34%. That was painful. I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, but with Bidenomics and whatnot, I mean, it hurt. I'm not a single mom, but I am a single individual. There aren't two incomes coming into my house. Well, there aren't two incomes coming from two different people. I've taken on a full-time job with Americans for Prosperity. I still freelance here. I freelance with America in the Morning, which is a news show that's syndicated all over the country. I'm a reporter for that. I'm a reporter for Nancy Grace. I mean, I have all these irons in the fire to make a little bit of money, to make my ends meet. And you're going to use my money to pay for a golf course where any celebrity in this town could just write a check and say, here you go, I'll help you. And it wouldn't be painful. It would not be a painful check. Or for that matter, the professional golfers that are out there that are from our area, in fact. I think two professional golfers were going to be with the mayor today. Yeah, here we go. Two golf legends were supposed to join Mayor Cooper this morning. PGA 2012 FedEx Cup champion Brant Snedeker. I can't say his name. Don't judge me. Snedeker. Anyway. And then Lou Graham, who was the U.S. Open champion in 1975. We're going to both be with either one. Well, I know Brant could. He could write a check. (615-737-9986). Let's go to Al. Al is in Baxter, and what's your comment this afternoon?
Well, Well, my thought is he earmarked the $2 million for the golf courses because he knows he's on his way out and he's gone, and he plans on spending a lot of time on them golf courses.
These are public golf courses, though. If he's a golfer, I would venture to say he'd be on the private golf courses, my friend.
Well, possibly. But if you got two professionals already with him, I say he's earmarked it because he plans on spending time on them.
There you go. Thank you very much for your phone call. I appreciate it. 615-737-9986. Here's a texter. Are you freaking kidding me? Put that $2 million towards something that freaking matters. Pamela, for the last 18 years, the town of Smyrna Public Golf Course has operated in the red, costing taxpayers $250,000 to $400,000 a year. They never pay for themselves. Metro Parks owns the golf courses and are responsible for them. I know. I mean, it's part of Shelby Park. I understand that. But I was told we were out of money. That's why my property taxes went up. We can't afford, supposedly, to hire SROs. We can't fortify our schools because it's going to cost X amount of dollars. Our kids in schools are not reading at the level where they should. We have overrun classrooms in Middle Tennessee and Nashville. And do we not? I've heard parents complain about that. Those are public courses. Why shouldn't we provide for the parks? Bill Covington had a fishing rodeo every year at Shelby Park. It has a deep history in Nashville. I understand that. I get that. But when you tell me you're out of money and this is what you want to do with it, a golf course, it bothers me. That's all I'm saying. It bothers me a lot. When you're then flush with money. For instance, the state has, $2 billion in its coffers? It might even be more than that at this point. Their rainy day fund, their fund that they can play with a little bit. When you have money you can play with a little bit, and you don't have crazy needs that are out there in the county, then go for it. But I would think this would be at the very bottom of the list of things that you would do. Call me crazy. And some of you are. It's okay. 615-737-9986. Let's go to Juan in Hermitage. Hey, Juan.
Hey, how you doing today?
Great. How are you?
Oh, I'm just glad to be able to talk to you.
What's your comment?
I have an opinion on that. Those $2 million that are going into these golf courses, there's a lot of people that have been playing these golf courses lately, especially after the COVID deal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're seeing it more as an investment, as the money coming back, not necessarily giving it out 100%, but more of an investment. That's my opinion on it.
Well, so let me ask you, have you played out on the courses?
Yes, ma'am.
So do you pay any money at all?
Yes. If you're not so there's a way you can get a membership for all of the Metro golf courses. You pay a yearly fee it's under $600, and it's really cheap when you go and play throughout the year. If you're not a member, you're expecting to pay about $38-40 for 18 holes.
Oh, wow, that's cheap. Cheap.
And, that's why it's public course.
Sure.
But I think they're seeing it more of an investment because Shelby is run down and Vinnie Links is pretty much, really run down. They're really bad. So those two courses are the ones that don't get that many people there because of how bad they are.
Because of how bad.
Not necessarily how bad they are, but they're just not in the same condition as the other Metro courses.
Well, I'm wondering then, all right, so you're putting it that way, they're looking at it as an investment. So if they upgrade the parks and upgrade those two golf courses, and they're looking at it as, at this point, then more people will become members so they can play these newer courses, maybe they're thinking they could pay it. that like it'll pay for itself.
Either that or just the simple fact that they know that they put the money into this, it's going to come back because there's a lot of golf players, especially here in Nashville area.
That can't afford the fees at some of the other courses that are private courses. Maybe.
Correct.
I don't know.
Correct.
All right, Juan, thank you for your perspective. That gives me another set of eyes and another idea about it. Thank you. I appreciate it. 615-737-9986, David in Clarksville. Hello.
Hello, ma'am.
Hi.
Yeah,
Your opinion.
Well, for one thing, it's a $2 million one-time spend that we don't know if it was a grant between state and federal and city, because nobody's really said where the money's coming from. Where you start hiring people to work in other, like with the schools, RSOs, $1 million is one employee for a career.
All right. I don't. You're right. I don't know if I don't know that this is state money also involved in this. I would think it would just be city money since these are city parks, not state parks. But and you're right. When you're talking about a lifetime of a career of an SRO officer, that is, you get into higher numbers like that. I don't disagree, but I still stand by, could we have found a better way for that money? Now that I have learned that you still have to pay membership dues if you're playing these courses, if you want to play the whole year or you play for the day or what have you, that offsets the cost. So, because that goes right back to the metro parks. So that makes it easier for me to swallow as a taxpayer in Davidson County. But I still have, my little spidey senses are up. I just want to make sure that we hold everybody accountable. If I was wrong here, I will 100% apologize. But this is a mayor that hasn't exactly spent money for Davidson County and Nashville in a way that is pleasing to most of us who pay property taxes here. So I just want to make sure. I mean, his record stands for itself. His history stands for itself. So I have every reason to find this a little suspect. But anyway, it is 12:22. That's one thing that has made me angry. Here's another thing that has made me angry. You're not going to believe this next story that I'm going to tell you. From the military, when it comes to the movie Sound of Freedom. Wait till you hear this. It's coming up in just a moment. I'm Pamela Furr in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 1226. I am Pamela Furr, in for Matt Murphy. Glad that you're here. 615-737-9986. A lot of folks responding on the super text line. You are more than welcome to comment as well. A lot of people believe that that this might be a little too much for Metro Nashville to be spending money on. Sandra says, Phil Valentine doctrine, government should only be involved in the things the private sector won't, can't, or shouldn't. As he said, that should be on a pillow, and that is so 100% correct. If you're just tuning in, just FYI, Mayor John Cooper here in Nashville has decided to give $2 million towards golf course renovations at Shelby Park and Vinnie Links. Now, let's move on here. There is a story that's brewing out there that is interesting to me for lots of reasons, but let's go into this. First of all, have you seen the movie Sound of Freedom? It's a wonderful movie. There was a part of me that didn't want to go see it simply because everybody was saying, you got to go see it. You got to go see it, you know? And I'm not one of those who falls right in line with all the trends. I've yet to ever see Star Wars. I know, Belle.
Bye.
I know. Have yet to ever see it. Not the first episode, not the last episode.
You don't have to embarrass yourself on the radio and then immediately repeat the thing that just embarrassed you.
Never seen. Now, I've watched all the Star Trek movies and the series after that and the series after that and the series after that. But no, Star Wars, I've yet to see any of that. So, you know, I'm not one of those that goes along with the trends always. But because of the subject matter of Sound of Freedom, where it showcased, not the word, highlighted the problem of child human trafficking, I felt like it was something I needed to do. And so I did. I went to see it with a friend of mine, Jackie. And you know, we walked away. I mean, I'm in tears. I'm moved to action even after watching that movie. And I know that a lot of people feel the same way. They feel like it's a mission from God to watch this movie so you can see what's happening in this world. Things that I believe, and I may be guilty of it too, that I've put my head in the sand. Yeah, and I don't even want to hear about it. Or la 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 la, your fingers in your la la la. This isn't happening. La 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 la. I told some friends the other night, a week or so ago, I didn't know that child human trafficking was such a problem in Tennessee. I had no idea. And I have to be honest, I don't know if it's because I've chosen not to know this, or it's just hasn't been on the radar of Tennesseans, which is a shame. All right, so all that to say, when I say U.S. Southcom, I'm assuming you know what that. So that's U.S. Southern Command, our military, U.S. Southern Command. They had planned 2 showings of Sound of Freedom at its headquarters. They've decided now to cancel those showings. I've run out of time to tell you why here. I'll tell you why when we come back after this break. And then I'm going to share with you how an author who works for the Military Times even phrased the cancellation of this film being shown at U.S. Southcom. It's crazy to me. 615-737-9986 is our phone number. That's our text line, our super text line. We're live right now on Super Talk TV. You can see us on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube TV. We'll be back in a moment on WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 12:35. I am Pamela Furr. In for Matt Murphy. Thank you for being with me today. Glad to have you on board. I'm just seeing the headline that the Senate right now is debating the J.D. Vance mask mandate ban bill. So we'll keep you posted on that. If a vote by chance comes up on that, I'll let you know that as well. All right. So The Sound of Freedom, you know the movie starring Jim Caviezel, and it highlights the issues with child human trafficking going on in our world today. And it is heartbreaking, heart-wrenching. The only other time that I've walked out of a movie completely somber and, questioning my life was when I went to see The Passion of the Christ, which coincidentally also starred Jim Caviezel. But after seeing The Passion of the Christ, you just walk out kind of stunned and humbled. And, I remember running into a friend just going in to see another movie and, hello, hey, how are you? He's acting all animated and we're all just standing there just really not reacting. And he goes, "Are you guys okay? What'd you go see?" Passion of the Christ. And he literally stepped back with his hands up going, "Oh, well, I'll leave you to it then." And he walked off because it was that kind of movie where you're in the presence of something that really needed you to make you really needed to think about your life choices, right? Same with Sound of Freedom for me. Not quite as intense, obviously, but intense nonetheless. So here's the story. U.S. Southern Command, or Southcom, has canceled 2 planned showings of they're saying in this article from The Hill, the Christian thriller Sound of Freedom at its headquarters in Doral, Florida. This is command headquarters for our military, one of them. The summer surprise box office hit about a former federal agent rescuing children from sex trafficking, by the way, has earned nearly $182 million in the U.S. and Canada since it was released in July of this year. But its model, by the way, it's done through Angel Studios. So its model is you can buy a ticket for somebody else to watch it. That kind of GoFundMe-ish kind of thing here. So a lot of people are going to see this movie and not paying a dime, and yet it still has made $182 million in the U.S. The movie has garnered some negative headlines after Jim Caviezel, this is what The Hill says, publicly linked the film's anti-exploitation plotline to unproven QAnon theories. Seriously, you're going to connect all of this to QAnon, which, to my knowledge, does it exist anymore? And if it does, I don't think it makes any headway into anything anymore. So this has placed the movie squarely in the middle of America's culture wars. One that Southcom doesn't want to be in the middle of. So that's why they've decided to cancel the showing. The free screenings were originally planned for August 28th, which was, a week ago, and October 19th. And they were canceled after the Military Times inquired about it. And that's who I'm ticked off at, because that's how they are embracing this whole thing. QAnon embraced film pulled from screening on base at Southcom. And now the message of the movie to some is completely written off as a hoax, because you attached QAnon to it. Now, if I want to get super spiritual here, obviously that is a ploy from the devil himself so that others would not become aware of this kind of evil that lives in this world. In a statement to The Hill, Southcom says the screenings were canceled after a review of, quote, applicable laws and regulations governing the use of materials subject to copyright and intellectual property laws for official or recreational purposes. I'm laughing at this because that doesn't apply when you're talking about the model for Angels Studios. And one little letter or phone call to the head of Angel Studios would get you permission to air it for free at Southcom, which I believe that's what they were planning on doing. So I call BS on that little statement. Insofar as the film is concerned, following this review, a determination was made to cancel the screenings. This is Army Colonel Emmanuel Ortiz. Individuals interested in viewing the film can still do so at a local theater of their choosing. The now canceled screening was intended to help raise awareness of the nexus between human rights abuses and criminal organizations they frequently commit as part of their human smuggling activities, which sometimes falls within Southcom's area of responsibility. Ortiz confirmed that the U.S. Army garrison Miami, that's where they were going to have these showings, proposed showing the film after concluding it could help raise awareness of human rights issues closely associated with activities of transnational criminal organizations operating in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean, where Southcom actually partners with host nations to counter the threat posed by those violent criminal groups. He added that USAG-M, which is the garrison Miami base, and Southcom were solely interested in screening the film to educate and inform our members of these issues depicted in the movie's central story. Well, again, one simple little letter to Angel Studio, and I bet you they would have said, please show it. Please. He stressed that communications about the screening of the movie or any potential future showings do not constitute a Defense Department, Army, or Southcom endorsement. The Sound of Freedom, as you know, is based on the efforts, the story of Tim Ballard, who, according to The Hill, is a, quote, controversial anti-trafficking activist who has claimed he worked for the CIA and the Department of Homeland Security before starting the much-disputed anti-child exploitation group known as Operation Underground Railroad. Now, I don't know what all the disputes are. I don't know if he worked for the CIA or for the Homeland Security Department. I don't know any of that stuff. I do know that if he truly was saving the lives of children who had been involved in human trafficking, I don't care if he is a liar. I don't care. I don't care if he's saving these children. I believe he'd been involved with Glenn Beck in some of these operations, or Glenn Beck certainly donated money in some of these operations. I used to work for Glenn Beck. I can tell you he's not going to be involved in things unless he's being completely snowed, involved in things that are untruthful. The studio that released the film, Angel Studios, and you should know this, put out a lengthy blog post acknowledging that the movie takes creative liberties in depicting the different methods of child trafficking for storytelling purposes. Does anybody Not know that Hollywood takes licenses sometimes with the truth to make it a better story? This wasn't a documentary. And I don't think anybody thought it was a documentary. In the film, Caviezel plays a former CIA officer who quits his job and decides to take matters into his own hands when his bosses won't authorize the rescue of a child from a Colombian sex trafficking cartel. Caviezel has gotten some bad press lately because of his own controversy since the film's released by saying some things that there are those say are baseless. And there are those that say are QAnon theories. I don't know. Maybe he did. Does that change the fact that there is a child human trafficking problem in this world? And if this movie brings attention to that, I don't care what Jim Caviezel says. If he believes in QAnon or the green ugly monster that comes from Mars, I don't care. Does it matter? Now, apparently, he says that liberal elites are involved in a conspiracy to kidnap children and harvest their blood. I don't know if he has said that. I don't know that there's any proof of that. I've certainly heard stories like that before, and I blew it off. If he wants to believe that, it's his right. Does that change the fact that children are being kidnapped every day and sold into sex slavery? Does it change the fact? No. Does it change the fact that this movie has certainly brought it to the attention of the masses? No. Ticks me off. 615-737-9986. Jeff's in Hendersonville. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, a couple quick points. Number one, how can you even diverge? How can there be any difference of opinion on this if it helps one child, right? Secondly, I met a local roofer here in Hendersonville who is involved. There apparently is a motel in Gallatin that's kind of a hub. And what they do is they kind of spec it out and they show up with baskets of food. And they send signals to the people in the room. They're trying to get a count, how many women, how many children. And apparently it's a really active thing. I haven't been able to bring myself to see the movie yet. I don't think I can really handle it yet because it's just such a scary subject. But how can there be any difference of opinion? And as far as QAnon, I'm a conservative. I don't even know what the hell that's supposed to be. So anyway, just
all right. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate it. You know, QAnon came into being or highlighted while Donald Trump was in office, and look it up, Google it. You can see stories. And if you believe conspiracy theories, here's the thing. You have every right to believe what you want to believe. You have every right to watch what you want to watch. You have, I have a problem with some QAnon stuff because it's based on no evidence whatsoever. I've always had a problem with that kind of thing. I mean, I have a problem with YouTubers or Rumblers. Is that what they call themselves? People on Rumblers? I have a problem with just anybody popping up and saying breaking news and pretending to be a journalist and pretending to be a reporter and pretending to be on the cutting edge of the truth. And it's all made up. With no evidence. They make things. I have a problem with that, but that's because I've been in the news business for years, for decades. And so the truth means something to me. But if you want to believe it, go believe it. It is a free country. It doesn't change the facts that are out there. And the facts are children are being kidnapped. I'm going to say it again. Children are being kidnapped and sold into sex slavery every day. And it's happening under our noses every day. Every day. And I'm thankful that there are organizations out there who are fighting to bring this to our attention. I'm thankful that my head's not buried in the sand anymore, or my fingers in my ears going, la, 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 la. This isn't happening in Tennessee. La, 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 la. Because that's not true. And we are seekers of the truth, aren't we? And if Jim Caviezel wants to believe something that he believes is true and he thinks he's seen the evidence, have at it. I would challenge him on it. Show me some evidence. But that doesn't change the fact that he starred in a movie that brought the attention of the world to child human trafficking. It's 12:51. I'm Pamela Furr, in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. 615-737-9986. All right, I got to make some corrections here. So the first one comes from our friend David Corlew, who is with the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, who tells me that it's SOCOM, not Southcom. And I think he's right. He would,
Park?
if anybody would be right.
South Park?
No, if anybody would be right, it would be David.
Yeah, he knows his stuff when it comes to that.
But just in my defense, the Hill said Southcom, so that's why I was saying Southcom. So I apologize to any members of the military who served at SOCOM.
And in your non-defense, you are a ginger.
I am a ginger. And then the QAnons have come out. Oh, my God. They said it's Q and it's a non, not QAnon.
From ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. Legal challenges ahead after a federal judge ordered Texas to remove the floating barriers in the Rio Grande.
Today, Texas Governor Greg Abbott says he'll win on appeal after a federal judge in Texas ruled the state must move its floating buoy and razor wire border barrier to the Texas side of the Rio Grande and that it's barred from erecting anything else along the river. Law experts have been saying for weeks that under international law and treaties, Texas cannot put any kind of barrier in the water, and the federal government has claimed Texas doesn't have the jurisdiction in the river anyway, that it's federal property. The fight will now be moving to an appellate court and then maybe the Supreme Court. Alex Stone, ABC News.
In Georgia, the judge overseeing the racketeering election case ruled two defendants, Sidney Powell and Kenneth Chesbrough, will be tried together starting October 23rd. The judge, though, hasn't decided whether other defendants, including former President Trump, will stand trial all at once. ABC's Aaron Katursky has more.
Whenever the trials start, prosecutors estimated they could last 4 months and include testimony from more than 150 witnesses. Trump has been asked if he would testify in Georgia or in his 3 other criminal trials, and he claims he would, though his lawyers may have a different expectation.
Attorneys for Trump today notifying Fulton County courts that they may, quote, may seek to remove his case to federal court. Snapchat rolling out new features today designed to better protect, it says, teens from toxic content and predators online, including warning notifications on new accounts that don't have mutual friends. Dr. Robin Silverman says it's important, though, that parents still limit screen time and have an ongoing dialogue with kids.
This is a partnership. It's the app doing the right thing, the parents having the conversations, and then the children being informed to make the right decisions for themselves.
Sweltering temperatures again across much of the country. Many schools that don't have air conditioning are shortening the school day. You're listening to ABC News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 104. I am Pamela Furr in for Matt Murphy. Glad that you're here today. What is it again? What is today? I hear that it's
Friday Eve all day long on the Matt Murphy Show.
on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. He's going to be very angry at me for embracing that. He's never going to let me guest host his show ever
well, you
again.
know what? If he has a problem with it, don't go on vacation.
That's what I say.
And I'd still be playing that even if he was here.
All right. Just joshing you, Matt. We miss you. Can't wait for you to return next week. By the way, so before we get started on this segment, I have a new theme song that I want to share with you regarding, where did it go? All right, now it's gone. I had it queued up and everything, and now it's gone. I will have to do this later, I suppose. There's a song. You know the song. They call me the Wanderer. The Wanderer. Around. That's his new theme song. That's what I was going to do, and it disappeared from my computer. That's his new theme song, Joe Biden, for what he did to that Medal of Honor recipient the other day from Chattanooga. Chattanooga Medal of Honor recipient. And the stories that are coming from the mouth of Karine Jean-Pierre are just absolutely, positively unbelievable. The excuses that she has made for what happened with Joe Biden. So we're going to get into that. But I want to tell you, so we were talking about SOCOM. I'm saying it properly now, SOCOM. Speaking of the military, I want to plug this if you don't mind. And thank you to WTN and Dan Mandis for allowing me to take this opportunity to tell you that tickets for the Bourbon Bash are now on sale. We're doing the Bourbon Bash again this year. It will be on Veterans Day, November the 11th, to benefit the Freedom and Whiskey Foundation. Now, this is an organization that is designed specifically to help members of Special Operations Forces who come back from their tours of duty, who are either retired or whatever, they serve 8 years and they get out, whatever the case may be. They get out of the military with a certain skill set, a pretty elite skill set. And sometimes when they come home, there's no place for them to go. Where are they going to go to use that skill set? Are they going to drive a bus for Metro? Are they going to, you know what I mean? There's got to be a way to connect them to the companies across the country that are in need of their special kind of skill set. So that's what Freedom and Whiskey, what its foundation is doing, is connecting those folks. Or you have members of Special Operations Forces who have gone through and gotten their education through the GI Bill and whatnot, but it only goes so far. There is one gentleman that we have been paying the scholarship or the college education at Duke University so he can get his master's degree. Just things like that. So, and then we'll connect him to, a company that will put him to work to use his special elite skills. Yes, sir?
We talked about this, but I forgot. Where is it going to be?
It's going to be this year. It's going to be at the factory in Franklin at Liberty Hall.
That's right.
Now, in the past, it's been at Leapers Fort Distillery, which is a gorgeous piece of property. It's still my favorite, and if I had my way, I'd still have it there. But we can't. You know why?
So it's at the factory in Franklin.
It's at the factory in Franklin. You want to know why we can't have it at Leapers Fork?
Why can't we have it there?
We have outgrown Leapers Fork Distillery.
Well, it's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a very good problem to have. So tickets are on sale now. Belle, you haven't been yet, have you?
No, because every time this has come up, I've been in a situation where I couldn't drink. And I'm not going to a bourbon bash when I can't drink whiskey.
You're supposed to be drinking the whiskey and the bourbon that will be there. Now, it's not
how do you get tickets?
It's not a party, by the way. It's a tasting. right?
It's a party.
All right, it's Bourbon Bash Tix, TIX.com, bourbonbashtix.com. You can get your tickets, and we will have, I think, of 10, 12 different distilleries that'll be there, including Angels Envy will be there. Old Dominic from Memphis will be there. Just a whole list of people. We will have entertainment from Ronnie Bowman, and people, if you don't know that name, you know his music. He is a bluegrass superstar, but he's also lately been writing songs with Chris Stapleton, and Chris Stapleton has turned those into hits. So that's how his connection with Chris Stapleton is. But Ronnie Bowman and the Tim Shelton Syndicate will be entertaining us. We'll have high-end catering. It's honestly, it is truly a wonderful event. It's become one of the premier events in the Williamson County area for the last, 8 years we've been doing this? 10 years? I'm going to have to go back and look at the calendar. We've been doing this a while. We started doing this before there was a festival, a bourbon festival, every other weekend in Middle Tennessee. We were doing it before it was cool. So anyway, I invite you to come. And again, this is to raise money for the Freedom and Whiskey Foundation. bourbonbashtix.com. We raised money last year for the Gary Sinise Foundation. We raised almost $100,000. Before that, it was the Green Beret Foundation. And we also donate money that we raise to local causes. Remember the Dixon County Sheriff who was killed, Sheriff's deputy who was killed in the line of duty. We raised money for his little girl so that she could go to college. And anyway, we get involved in that kind of stuff. So we would love to have you. bourbonbashtix.com, bourbonbashtix.com. All right. I am just taken aback by Karine Jean-Pierre, who went on the defensive, I guess, yesterday when reporters were talking about Joe Biden and asking why he didn't finish the Medal of Honor, the Medal of Honor ceremony that happened a couple of days ago. Now, you'll recall I was on the air when it went on, and I tried to play some of the audio from Joe Biden live, but he ticked me off because he kept talking about the heroism of Larry Taylor and how Larry Taylor wasn't about to leave one of his men behind, and yet Joe Biden is guilty of doing that very thing. It just felt so hypocritical for me to actually play that. If you'll recall, if you were listening, I had to turn it off. So what did he do later? He wandered off the stage before the ceremony was actually over. And here is what Karine Jean-Pierre had to say about that.
I'm going to share a couple of things with all of you here. And just start with what the ceremony was all about, because it's incredibly important.
Wait. We know what it's about, Karine.
The president took off his mask, as I said he would, to deliver incredibly powerful remarks.
So a White House that
This
says...
is what we call killing time.
Right. So the White House wants people to wear masks because Jill Biden has COVID, so they don't want to spread COVID around. So the president was wearing a mask just in case, right? Don't want to spread this whole COVID around. But because he was making a powerful speech, I'm going to check with Dr. Fauci, but I guess the science says if you're making a powerful speech, COVID is killed immediately. But once that powerful speech is over, you must return to mask wearing because COVID will return.
I love how she starts out by trying to distract with the whole thing about it's all about everything but him wandering off. And she's trying to take up as much time as possible before she starts dealing with that. Then she can go back and say, I thoroughly addressed that. We spent plenty of time. It's like,
we spent 5 minutes saying nothing. All right. Back to this audio. It just kills me. This whole thing just kills me. All right, here we go. I just have to figure out how to push the button.
About this captain, Captain Taylor, and what he did in service to our nation, and he wanted to honor the captain. And for a brief time afterwards, he also didn't have his mask on, as you just laid out, and he left as planned, as it was planned. He left when there was a pause in the program in order to minimize his close contact with attendees who are about to participate in a reception.
Okay.
Yada, yada, yada.
I mean, seriously, guys. So this was planned to mitigate contact with everybody who just endured his spittle by making a very powerful speech. And so, therefore,
I don't know.
When it's powerful, it kills the COVID virus, right? The molecules. But when he stops, COVID's back. So you got to get him off the stage. Is that really what she's saying? I mean, that's what she's saying, right? And I don't know how she even gets out of bed every day. How in the world does she think anybody's going to take her seriously? Eventually, her conscience has to pop up and go, Corrine, are they really going to buy this BS that you're spouting?
That job takes a really specific skill set, and part of that skill set is being able to BS effectively.
She doesn't have that skill set
at all.
No.
She is terrible at it.
The key word there is effectively. At least with, who was the redhead? I can't think of her name right now. At least with her.
Jen Psaki.
Yes. At least with Jen Psaki, she was pretty good at the BS. Now, we are all good BS detectors on this side of the aisle. So, at least we're able to go, all right, nice try. You tried, Jen Psaki. Okay, fine. That sounds plausible, but come on, man. No.
And she would say things in a way that made, you really had to come to the table with the receipts to rebut her.
Correct.
Whereas
She made you, put you on your toes. But there were times when she would spout the BS, and then she'd have this look on her face like, y'all know this is BS, right? In fact, I think that was the chemistry between her and Peter Ducey. Like, okay, Peter, you know this is BS, but you know this is what I have to tell you. And Peter's like, I know this is BS, and I'm going to have to hold your feet to the fire. Go ahead.
With Jen, you literally had to stop and go, okay, I know this isn't true. What do I have to show to prove it's not true? With Corinne, what's her name? Corinne Johnson?
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
Yeah.
She just sounds like she's full of crap. And you just go, okay, you're burying yourself. I don't need to do any work.
I don't need to counter you at all. I don't need to rebut you at all. All right, so I'm going to start. Hang on. I'm going to start here from the beginning. I'm not going to interrupt at all. I promise. I want to play this whole thing, and I want you to hear it. This is what bovine scatology sounds like.
I'm going to share a couple of things with all of you here, and just start with what the ceremony was all about, because it's incredibly important. The president took off his mask, as I said he would, to deliver incredibly powerful remarks about this captain, Captain Taylor, and what he did in service to our nation, and he wanted to honor the captain. And for a brief time afterwards, he also didn't have his mask on, as you just laid out, and he left as planned, as it was planned. He left when there was a pause in the program in order to minimize his close contact with attendees who are about to participate in a reception. And you all reported that and noticed that he left when there was a pause in the program, because, again, he wanted to minimize certainly his impact on folks who were there.
You know what? He minimized his impact on the people that were there when he opened his mouth. He minimized his impact when he took the oath of office back in January of 2020. He minimized his impact the moment he took that bribe money. He minimized his impact when those 13 men were killed in the line of duty in Afghanistan by a suicide bomber. He minimized his impact. You want to keep going? Minimized his impact when he got rid of the Donald Trump rules, laws, policies at the border. Let me rephrase. He minimized his positive impact. He has certainly left an impact. One of the worst presidents we have ever known. And most of you have lived through the Jimmy Carter days. It's 1:20. I'm Pamela Furr, in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 1:24. I am Pamela Furr in for Matt Murphy. All right, here's the theme song for Joe Biden. Right, don't you think? I think so. Because he looked so lost when he came off the stage that day after he had given the Medal of Honor to someone who absolutely 100% deserved it. In fact, you know what I'm going to try to do? I'm going to try to reach out to his family, not Joe Biden's, but the individual, Larry Taylor, the Vietnam veteran, and see if he and his family want to come to the Bourbon Bash. We can honor him there. And no one will wander off the stage. I can assure you of that. So, yeah, anyway, now we're looking at a possible indictment for Hunter Biden. Isn't that interesting how things have kind of turned around? When his plea deal fell apart, now David Weiss says that by the end of the month, there will be an indictment against Hunter Biden on these felony gun charges. Or I guess it's just one felony gun charge, right? So what does that mean in the big scheme of things? Nothing. Now, I say that. Do you look towards the future, and if there is an indictment and he goes to trial and he's found guilty, will Joe Biden pardon him? Most of us say, well, of course he'll pardon him. He's his son, right? If Joe Biden wins a second term, will it be, I don't care, so therefore my son will be pardoned? Or will it be, I'll get impeached? Well, I don't know that you can impeach him for pardoning his son. Does anybody doubt he would pardon him if Hunter Biden is found guilty?
Yeah, he's got pretty blanket authority to do that. I don't think that's an impeachable offense.
And here's the thing. Would you?
It's hard to say you wouldn't.
Correct. No matter what side of the aisle you're on. So I don't know that I would blame him for pardoning his son. We do know that he doesn't understand right from wrong. I'm talking about Joe Biden. And the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree either. Hunter doesn't seem to understand the difference between right and wrong. So what does this mean? Is this a distraction? Is this see, we're the Justice Department, and you say we're not doing our job, but we are. So, nah. Ron, no, it wasn't Ron Johnson. Yes, it was Ron Johnson. Yesterday made the comment that this gun charge seems silly when it's really the tax charges that we should have been going after. And I think the statute of limitations has now run out on that. But those were misdemeanor charges. This is the felony charge. This is the charge that actually has a little more teeth. I don't know that it's going to, if Joe Biden's going to pardon him, then should we even waste the time? Well, yeah, because justice is justice. But what does it mean in the big scheme of things? Or is this a way, for instance, Al Capone? I'm just giving you different options. Remember Al Capone? You know he was behind the murder of a gazillion people. You know that he committed crime after crime after crime after crime, but they couldn't quite get him on it. What did they get him on? Some stupid tax charges that ended up putting him in prison for the rest of his life because he ended up dying in prison. If you get him, does it matter how you get him? If indeed he can do time in prison, his father will pardon him. Unless the trial goes later, till after the election, till after he's out of office and Donald Trump wins. Oh, there's all kinds of scenarios here. But why now? Why is there's got to be something else here for this to be happening and for them to make this announcement yesterday. 615-737-9986. Got any ideas on what this could be? Feel free to call me, even if it's a conspiracy theory. I'm in that mood. It's 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is the Matt Murphy Show at 1:35. Happy Thursday to you. Glad that you're with us. 615-737-9986. We're talking a little bit about this now, what looks to be an indictment that's going to be handed down against Hunter Biden for those gun charges that he want to get high? Why do you do that to me? That's the one soundbite that gets me every time. You want to get high? Okay, sidebar. A friend of mine, she and I, were on some, at the time, some diet plan or what have you. And so we'd run around and we go, you want some pie? That was always our thing. Oh, why are you doing this to me? Anyway, so we're talking about Hunter Biden, who actually may get indicted on gun charges. His plea deal fell apart, and now it looks like he may see something. What does this mean? Is this going to happen? Is he going to see any jail time? I will tell you, because I did a report on this last night for America in the Morning, and the attorney for Hunter Biden released a statement saying that they believe that the plea deal is still valid, even though a judge said, no, this isn't valid, right? They're acting as if it is. And so the attorney says that Hunter Biden has been reporting to a probation officer every week as if he were on probation, as if the plea deal was agreed to. Talk about delusional, for crying out loud. And the fact that the attorney actually put that out there yesterday, I'm just shaking my head going, this is craziness. The plea deal is not valid, and there is about to be an indictment.
Well, the plea deal was never valid until the judge said, okay, I accept this.
Correct.
And she said the exact opposite.
She said, I question some of these provisions. Nope, not going to happen. So Hunter Biden and his attorney said, no, this is it. This is real. So he's been report. How do you report to a probation officer if you're not actually on probation? You just go in and say, hey, man, you want to get high? 615.
It sounds to me like somebody's working with him so that he can go into court and go, well, I've reported every day. I've been doing the right thing.
I've been doing the stuff. I've been doing the work.
So somebody behind the scenes set something up for him to be able to do that so he could say it.
This will look good to a judge.
Exactly.
615-737-9986. Let's go to Dennis. Dennis, welcome to WTN.
Hi, thanks for taking my call. I need to take you back a little bit because I was incensed over the fact that you were making fun of the president's spokesperson.
Why?
I mean, when you voted for Biden,
I didn't.
Well, I'm saying generally.
Okay.
When you voted for Biden, you accepted the fact that he was going to hire based on a rainbow coalition. And in that, haven't we been all really well satisfied? We've got a transportation czar who takes off for 2 months because of paternal.
Paternal.
It was so confusing. What do you mean? I thought he was the maternal side of the paternity.
Okay, I actually don't know. I don't really want to know. Okay, continue.
Well, then there's the problem with Biden's son. You don't think that this whole thing is a major waste of time trying to take us out of what they're trying to do to Trump, when in fact it's all about Biden's son and what Biden will do. And I mean, you don't have to be on the money to figure out that he's the president and pardon is what he's all about. He's got to pardon himself, and he's got to pardon Biden, then all of his children and his grandchildren. It's going to take him days or weeks just to get out of office.
To get all the pardons within his own family. All right, Dennis, thank you very much for your phone call. I appreciate it. It's James next from Monteagle. Hey, James, how are you?
I'm well, Pamela, and thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
I think maybe you might be missing the most obvious strategy, which is that they all got caught with their pants down when they went before the judge. So now they're going to indict him. He is going to plead guilty. They will never take this to court because then everything would be opened up in the court. So he's going to plead guilty. Now, if he will not serve time, they're going to figure that out beforehand. He'll never serve time.
He'll plead guilty and then put him on probation for 2 years, and then he can turn around and say, I've already been reporting to the probation officer for months now, so take that off of part of the sentencing. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then if his dad is, God forbid, reelected, then on his last day in office, he will pardon him. On his last day in office. That's what's going to happen.
Wow.
If he's not reelected, then the worst thing that has happened is, he got a couple of years of probation. He's going to take the fall for this, for all those lawyers, including the government lawyers, for screwing this whole thing up. But you were wrong in saying that this is the most important charge. It's not. They are not going after him for violation of the federal registration for I forgot what the name of the act is, but where you're lobbying for foreign government.
Correct. No, but I'm just talking.
That is huge.
I don't disagree, but there
and also for treason.
James.
And
I'm just talking about these 3 charges, the tax charges and the gun charge that he made a plea deal with. The gun charge out of those 3 charges is the most serious charge. I agree with you on the others. Those are outrageous, but they haven't even gotten anywhere close to charging him with that stuff.
They're never gonna do it. But those are the ones that he should be be indicted for and going to jail for.
Don't disagree. Thank you, James. I appreciate your phone call. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Let's go to Mandy in Hohenwald. Hey, Mandy.
Hi, Pamela. Okay, my first knee-jerk reaction to you saying that he had been going to a probation officer was, oh, my God, they're trying to gaslight the judge.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Just saying, we're going to do it this way because, that's what
isn't that insane? When I couldn't believe it yesterday when I got the statement from Biden's attorney, Hunter Biden's attorney. Are you really seriously? This is your statement? This is what you want us to believe? No, he really is accepting the plea deal. So therefore, he's going to go ahead and report to this probation officer, and he has been since the deal was made. Just ignoring the fact that a judge actually has to approve it. It's just, this is insanity. We're living in the upside down.
I know, and it's the same thing they do to the media. It's the same thing they do to everybody. They just say, "Well, no, that's not what happened."
Don't believe your eyes. Come on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you, Mandy. I appreciate your phone call. Have a good day. Let's go to James in Spring Hill. Hey, James.
Hey, I just want to say that I have a friend that's a legal guy, and he was saying that the gun case was separate from the plea bargain charge, even though it was added into it. But they had a legal contract with the Department of Justice and the probation office. So technically, that part of the deal is a legal deal. The charge that they're doing is to say, we tried to charge them, but because there was a contract between the Department of Justice and the probation department, that's why they're going that route. If the probation office didn't believe it was a legal contract, they wouldn't let them report to the probation office.
True. So they are convinced it's a legal contract, and it's not.
Oh, it is a legal contract. Anytime you enter a contract,
Yeah, but
both parties agree to it, that part of it doesn't need a judge to okay it. That was done by the Department of Justice and the probation office.
I'm gonna have to find another legal eagle to weigh in on that, James.
Well, I hope what he told me isn't true, but I can see it coming because that's why he's going to the probation office.
Yeah.
And if the probation office thinks it's a bad deal, they would have said, "Don't bother showing up.
Yeah,
You're wasting our time."
because you're not on our list.
Exactly.
Thank you, James. I do appreciate your phone call. We do have a friend who is a legal eagle, and we're going to have him on tomorrow. His name is Jay St. Clair. He's a friend of Matt's and a friend of mine as well, who is a brilliant mind from Birmingham, Alabama. So we'll ask him tomorrow on that. I mean, what you said, James, I don't know who your legal guy is. I mean, that does make sense if the probation officer believes there's a legal contract here, but the judge is saying, no, I'm not going to recognize this as a legal contract. Am I not correct? The plea deal. In other words, it was a diversion of the gun charge by pleading guilty to the tax charges, correct? I think that's how it was. And so therefore, since the plea deal fell apart, they're now charging him with the gun. They are expected to charge him with the gun charges. The Biden camp is saying, no, we don't care what the judge said. This was our agreement, and we're going to honor the agreement. We'll see. We'll see how this plays out in the courts. But obviously, a prosecutor, David Weiss actually, doesn't think that it was a valid contract, or he would not be possibly indicting Hunter Biden at the end of the month, or at least by the end of the month. It's 1:47. I'm Pamela Furr. Did you want to say something? I'm sorry, you look like you want to comment. 615-737-9986 is the phone number, 615-737-9986. You can super text us as well. You can see us on Super Talk TV as well. That's Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube TV. We'll be back in a moment on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is the Matt Murphy Show. I'm Pamela Furr filling in for Matt Murphy. Are any of y'all that 70s show fans? Do y'all watch that? I have enjoyed the show over the years.
Yes.
Well, Danny Masterson.
Bye-bye.
Just got 30 years. Just got sentenced to 30 years to life in prison, which is pretty much his life, right? Because he's got to be pushing 40. Is he older than that?
No, he's pushing 50.
Is he pushing 50?
Yeah.
So that's his life.
Yeah, he's
47.
That's it. It's over. Well, I don't know if he's going to appeal. I'm sure there are appeals or what have you, but wow. And it's for rape. Correct?
Yes.
Rape charges.
Forcible rape.
He was found guilty on, and so now he's going to spend, wow.
In fact, it was the forcible aspect of the charge that increased the minimum to
sentence.
30 years.
Yeah, gotcha. All right, there you go. That is breaking news right now. Meanwhile, let's take your phone call, 615-737-9986. We've been talking about the deal that the plea deal that fell apart with Hunter Biden and the now foreseeable charges on those felony gun charges that David Weiss has said he will hand down at some point before the end of the month. David is in the borough. Hello, David. Ooh,
Hey, how you doing, Pamela?
You are on the road.
Well, I guess you could say that, yeah.
A little noisy, yeah.
That should quiet down for you there.
No worries.
The plea deal that he has given, I mean, they're not paying any attention to the judge. Would you expect it any other way? I mean, look what all they've done.
It's pretty delusional to me.
Yeah, they're not going to pay any attention to the deal. They think, they think the judge doesn't matter what they say. Even the Supreme Court. I've heard a few of them say, to ignore what the Supreme Court says. Just so they can get their way. So.
All right, David. Well, so what are you doing in the borough that's so noisy?
I run heavy equipment.
Gotcha. Well, we can hear it. That's for sure. Thank you for what you do. Have a good day, David.
Thank you.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
Let's go to Troy in Winchester. Hey, Troy, what's happening?
Hey, Pam, I love it when you're on. I love Matt Murphy, too. I thought of another comment while you were on with the other gentleman. But that one guy that got busted for 30 years,
Danny
they should do what they should castrate him and turn him free.
And turn him what?
That's what turn him free.
Why?
Why? Well, I don't know. I mean, not necessarily free.
All right, can you turn him down just a bit? I feel like I'm yelling. So here's the thing. I mean, if you castrate him, fine, but why should he be free? Freedom, I mean, that is a God-given right that you lay down when you rape somebody.
You're right. You ruined them for life. I hear you. So
I disagree with you. The castration part, I think they've ruled that is cruel and unusual punishment. And I would venture to say he'll serve his time in isolation. I don't know that they would put him in Gen Pop, as if I know the lingo. I've watched Oz on TV. I know. No, I don't think they would put him in general population because he's a former TV star.
Well, that, and when you're when you're convicted of sex crimes, you're a target.
Well, if you're convicted of sex crimes with minors,
no, even with
yes. Seriously,
yeah, that does not go well for people convicted of sex crimes in prison.
I thought it was just the sex crimes with children, but hey, I don't know. That's the crowd you run around with. I don't know. I'm teasing.
Wow.
I'm joking.
Wow.
I'm joking. You know I love you. I did not mean that. Want to get high? News is next. You want to get high? On Super Talk 99.7 W10.
2:00, I'm Mac Maury with your top stories. Right now, 81 degrees, a partly sunny day in Middle Tennessee, and clear skies ahead this week. Complete forecast just a few minutes away. The Senate Energy Committee this morning holding a hearing on artificial intelligence. The committee hearing testimony from the Department of Energy and AI experts. Jay O'Brien tells us why.
The DOE governs the United States nuclear arsenal, and they use supercomputers to maintain that nuclear arsenal. So they have these massive supercomputers that use artificial intelligence, but can also be deployed on other things. And so one of the things that this committee is interested in delving into is the notion of how artificial intelligence plays into those supercomputers to make sure those supercomputers are used for the right things rather than the wrong things.
And the United States also trying to make sure they have the edge on AI over China. Here in Nashville, Metro Police say a woman had an order of protection on the man she claims had strangled her before she shot him in the head. Police responded to a home in Old Hickory yesterday morning to find 29-year-old DeCorian Scott with a gunshot wound to the head. He's being treated at Skyline Medical Center, and police say Scott had been arrested in February for violating the order of protection against Aisha Sweeney that was granted in August. And schools back in New York City there, the mayor says he wants to make sure that all students are welcome and getting the support they need. Dave Packer.
On the first day of school in the nation's largest school district, New York Mayor Eric Adams greeting students at PS 121 in the Bronx, promising they'll have more support than he did when he was in school.
The little Erics of today, they're not dreading coming in because we're saying, hey, if you have a learning disability, we're going to be there for you. If you are dealing with food insecurity, we're going to be there for you.
And the city getting ready for a potential school bus strike, planning alternate transportation for students to get to class.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good afternoon. I'm Pamela Furr in for Matt Murphy. Glad to have you with us today. Matt will return on Monday, September the 11th. So be listening for that. Some are missing him, and I get it. But you have the rest of this hour and tomorrow with me. And then Matt will be back. All right. I want to talk a little bit again about the 14th Amendment. We talked about that yesterday and about a group that is indeed, I think we've touched on it every day this week, to be honest with you, because I knew there was a move afoot, as they say. That sounds like I'm a grandma when I say there's a move afoot. That's kind of a dated word, isn't it? Afoot. I don't know that I would hear Mac Morey going around saying there's a move afoot.
Football is afoot.
Right? The Chiefs are afoot.
Yes.
I don't think so. I may need to just change that a little bit so I can sound like I'm younger than what I actually am. All right. So noted to myself. But there is a move upon us. Wait, is upon also a dated? There's a move going on.
That's acceptable.
that there are some folks who are trying to use the 14th Amendment against former President Donald Trump to keep him off the ballot. And from a federal standpoint, I don't know that that's possible. But when you're talking at the state level, now you have my attention. I don't agree that Donald Trump participated in any kind of insurrection. You have to believe that what happened on January the 6th was an insurrection. You have to believe that people were trying to overthrow the government. Isn't that what an insurrection is? And a rebellion, isn't that what that is? So the premise right there is just completely flawed. Regardless, it doesn't say anything in the 14th Amendment about a conviction of insurrection or being found guilty of, or, you know what I mean? So I think it's a little vague. Regardless, there are still people who are now suing this. They're suing the state of Colorado to keep Donald Trump off the ballot there. Now, they are suing to keep him off the primary ballot. But I don't know that this group can do that because I thought it was up to the parties to determine who goes on the ballots there in every state. But we're going to have a legal guy on tomorrow. We'll get to the bottom of it tomorrow. But meanwhile, someone called the show yesterday and did make the statement that Mike Huckabee actually made on his show. I don't know if that show has aired yet, but former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee made a claim that if former President Donald Trump is kept off the ballot, you know what, in fact, and I hope Belle kept my computer up, let's just play it. Let's just hear it directly from Mike Huckabee. He can say it better than what I can quote, right?
Here's the problem. If these tactics end up working to keep Trump from winning or even running in 2024, it is going to be the last American election that will be decided by ballots rather than bullets.
Now, what did he mean by that? Now, unfortunately, this is the only piece of audio that I have. I'd like to hear what he said after that. Because maybe he will then, maybe he explained what he meant by that after this piece of audio that's now making its way all over the internet and in news stories and what have you. I'm reading from the article the Daily Mail has. He said, it's simple. People in power use their police agencies to arrest their opponents for made-up crimes in an attempt to discredit them, bankrupt them, imprison them, exile them, or all of the above. Huckabee pushed that this is what's happening to Donald Trump, who's been indicted 4 times since last March and faces a total of 91 charges. I can't help but laugh. That just seems so crazy ridiculous to me. 91 flipping charges. Come on. Talk about overkill. And I don't have to go through all that. I don't have to go through every charge he's facing. Right Wing Watch picked up this quote from Huckabee and made the statement, in a healthy democratic system, it would be shocking for a major political leader to make such a threat. But apocalyptic rhetoric and threats of violence and civil war have become increasingly common among right-wing leaders and far-right activists. The political reality for Biden is that he may actually prefer to go up against Trump in the general election as opposed to other Republican hopefuls, according to this article. In a new CNN poll, Biden trails Trump 46 to 47%, while Nikki Haley, now this shocks me, Nikki Haley leads Biden 49 to 43%. Who are they talking to? Is that independents? That's interesting. Now, someone on the show made the same kind of statement that Mike Huckabee made yesterday. And I have to tell you, for me, I understand fighting, right? I do. I understand activism. That's the new job that I've been hired to do with Americans for Prosperity, to recruit activists so that we can continue in the state of Tennessee to fight for conservative/libertarian type causes and policies, to continue to live in a prosperous state like the state of Tennessee. So I understand fighting. I don't believe that it is okay to talk about and to believe that the only solution for the future is civil war in the streets. Take up your arms and take back this country. I don't think we're there. I don't want to go there. I think that calmer heads can prevail. And through the process of elections, we can right this wrong that has been done to us. I really do. We don't live in the same time as the Civil War era. Now, there are a lot of people that are disagreeing with me right now and are screaming at the radio, and I get it. I have friends that completely disagree with the statement that I just made. They're more alongside of don't tread on me and that flag and that mentality, and the idea that if this continues, this kind of attack on Donald Trump to prevent him from running and preventing, in essence, the people of the United States of America from choosing who they want to lead them, it's all lost. And elections would be settled with bullets instead. There are friends of mine that believe that. I'm not there yet. I'm not there. I don't think we have to. I think we have enough people who can fight in court, who can fight in Congress, who can fight at the local level with policy, reasoning together, and getting those who want perpetual power, like the Democrats really do, out. 615-737-9986. Scott in Warren County, you are on the line. Thank you, sir, for calling.
Thank you for having me today, Pamela. Real fast, what Huckabee actually means, what they all mean, you got to look back at Maxine Waters. When Trump got elected, the violent talking, the way they pushed it. And now you look at everything that's coming out, and we all know the corrupt system is corrupt, but we never knew it was this bad, and now they're flaunting in our face. So even with a Republican win, no matter who it is, the left will not back down. They have never in, 20 years accepted any presidential election that they didn't win. And the right, come on, let's be realistic. How can we sit by when it's being flaunted in our faces that, hey, you guys are nothing, even though we had a constitutional right to protest and state that our local government, our federal government isn't doing the job. We have a right to remove them. Why don't we just have a vote, a literal vote? Why don't they do something they've never done before and say, you know what, let's really ask the people. These are bad times. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure. I mean, but you're saying why not just remove them? Remove who?
You have to remove it all right now.
Remove
from the top
what?
Down.
Like
President all the way down. We have proof that he is basically creating the worst case.
Mm-hmm.
Benedict Arnold wasn't this bad. If you think about it.
Right. So, but here's the thing. So if you're going to remove the president, right, then you have to impeach him to do that. And they're working on that. Yep. I think, though, by the time it's all said and done, we'll have an election.
Nothing will happen.
Well, and you'll have an election before you get an impeachment. And even if you...
We don't want an impeachment. We don't want an impeachment. If we were to take what's supposed to happen and put the next one in charge, we're in even worse shape now.
100%. So you take them.
I'm fine for success. I say, guess what? Until we get this under control, you now have a president in Tennessee. It's called a certain name. Everyone knows who it would be, so on and so forth. Whoever's leading that particular state up and down, we now have to make some sort of amends because Tennessee is not New Hampshire. It definitely the hell ain't Washington.
Well, now I believe in state sovereignty. I believe in states.
I think that's what's going to happen now.
Yeah.
Until we fix the top, all of us need to say, no, we're not doing this. You're bringing this into our schools. You're changing our lives.
Okay, you're not doing what? Okay, hold on. You're not doing this. What is this?
They aren't doing the job they are supposed to do. They're just throwing everything at the individual states and saying, hey, look, this is the way it is now. Even though it's never been like this before, welcome to Crazy Town. You're going to accept whatever we sell you. And you know what? You're just going to take it. You're not even going to buy it.
All right. So in Tennessee, what are we doing that defines what you just said?
We have definitely stayed a lot further away from the, I call it DIE, even though they want to say DEI versus DIE like it is. The overall population, when we're looking at illegals, different things, I tend to think that we handle them a lot better in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. We definitely take care of our people better. There's a lot more caring.
So here's the thing. So here's what I have to ask you. So you want to get rid of, we got to get rid of them, got to get rid of them. I agree with you. But if the people in California keep electing Nancy Pelosi to be there, there's nothing that I can do or you can do in the state of Tennessee.
No.
So
my mommy always told me when I was a young kid, guess what? You made your bed, now lie in it. If they choose to live in a state like that, that's fine. They can do their stuff there.
So you can't get rid of them. You can't get on the east. Right, but you can't get rid of them, like that, because that's who they elected. So we as Tennessee,
that is their state. That
correct.
Is their state.
But,
they can run it
but
their
Nancy
way.
Pelosi is in power, is she not? Now, she is the majority leader there in the House at this point. No, I'm sorry, the minority leader. She's not even that.
Hakeem Jeffries is now minority
leader. No kidding. Oh, you know what? I think I knew that. I apologize. I just had a brain fart. You are right. It is Hakeem. That is right. So maybe she'll retire after this. But Hakeem is also one of them. But he was duly elected to be one of them. How are you going to get him out of power? You can't.
If them are going to run this country into the ground, it no longer needs to be them and us. We need to just be us. They can be them.
So you mean no more federal government?
No more federal oversight.
That's what you're saying.
That can go ahead and just do all this stuff. You look at the DOJ, all these things. Once these,
so you want to get rid of the Constitution altogether?
No, I do not want to get rid of the Constitution at all. What I want is to tear down what started as an amazing thing where it was a privilege. It was a civic duty. You went in there and you busted your butt to do what was best for your constituents. You didn't go in there looking at it. It's a long-term career. Your kids are going to do it.
So you want term limits.
Kids are going to do it. I want term limits, and there needs to be oversight of the federal government. What happened?
Well,
Should have
so you've
never
got,
happened.
well, I thank you very much for your phone call, Scott. I mean, I understand your frustration, and I get it 100%. That's what Congress is supposed to be there to have oversight over the executive branch. The executive branch oversight, judicial. These are three equal branches of our government to keep the other in check, is the way it's supposed to be happening. Instead, you see corrupt people in charge taking this country down a road that was never intended at all. I'm not for term limits. I think the people of your district, your area, your state can decide to get rid of an individual. That's term limits are already in place when you look at it that way. I voted you in, I can vote you out. I am, however, considering the idea of cognitive tests for members of Congress, members of the executive branch, even the Supreme Court. When you reach a certain age, you should be evaluated as to whether or not you can hold that office or not any longer. I don't think that it should be an age limit on who should be in office, because one man who's 81 years old may not be exactly like the other man who's 81 years old. One man at 81 can run marathons and can solve, the world's problems, whereas another 81-year-old may not know his name or the name of his children, let alone how to run the country. So if you want to take a test, a cognitive test, I'm okay with that, to prove that you're able to hold the office that you have and do the job that you've been elected to do and serve this country the way that you have been elected to serve this country. And if you're 105 doing it, as long as you can, more power to you. And as long as the people of your area voted you there, I have to respect that. I'm a states' rights girl. 2:22, I'm running a little late here. Steve and Edwin, if you guys will hold on, we'll continue this conversation here in just a second. I'm Pamela Furr on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
COVID test results in today for President Biden. A death in West Tennessee at a TVA plant, and boots on the ground still on Maui after those wildfires. That and more 2:30 Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Thank you very much, McMorey. When the moon hits your like a baby
Big pizza bye.
McMorey. It is 2:27. I am Pamela Furr. Glad to be with you today. Edwin in McMinnville is on the line. Hey, Edwin.
Yes, hello. I was calling in reference to the previous caller where you asked him about replacing the Constitution or doing away with it. You speak that you're a states' rights girl. Well, I believe our forefathers had it right with the first Constitution they had, which was called the Articles of Confederation. And that's what I think we need. It was never repealed, by the way. And if the states had more rights, they controlled themselves. They were independent in many ways. We have no need now of a federal government. Anything the federal government can do, the states can do. And as far as our legal system, when you have federal law and state law, I believe that's double jeopardy. You're trying somebody for the same thing twice. Mm-hmm. So I agree and somewhat with the previous caller. I believe we need to go back to where we started, the Articles of Confederation, and pick them up, give the states the authority to govern themselves totally. And if California wants to do their thing, let them do it. But let Tennessee do theirs.
Well, recall that the Articles of Confederation it was an agreement between 13 states or 13 colonies.
But it was still an active constitution.
So you'd have to rewrite it so that it would include, the other states that have now come into the union.
Well, you just have to put their names in it.
Thank you
We're picking and choosing the laws we're enforcing anyhow. If a state wants to say they want to have marijuana, well, we've got a federal law that says it's against the law. So we're picking and choosing. So why can't Tennessee pick and choose its own laws?
Thank you for your call. I appreciate it, Edwin. Let's go to Steve in the borough. Hey, Steve.
Hey, Pamela, if you give me a moment to explain, I have a great compromise for you on the term limits. It's something that's been tried in certain cities in San Diego and done well. It's called term gaps. And that's where you get to do 2 terms, and then you have to set out a term. And the reason we do that is because the incumbency reelection rate is 92% across the board.
They do that actually. Really let me interrupt for just a second. They actually do that in North Carolina with the governor position. They have a gap. What was his name? Jim Hunt served, I think, 2 terms, then was off a term, and then served again, and then was, you know what I mean? They do that in North Carolina as well. That's not a bad idea, and I don't know that enough people even know about it or talk about it.
Right, and the problem is today the elections, even with the endorsements within the GOP, you've got several great candidates running. Mm-hmm. When they're looking to pick a candidate to endorse from the party, they don't even look at the values of the person running. They look at who can raise the most money. And so another problem with that is in Congress, they're running for re-election every 2 years. So you really never stop running for re-election.
Right.
So if we would increase the term for Congress to 4 years and then stagger the offices where half are in and half are out, then they have, 4 years to do something, but also then they've got, 3 years where they're not running. And I think that's part of the problem is there's so much money in politics that it's not even about the people running anymore. It's about who can raise the most money, who knows the right people that should contribute the most money, who can write a book and have, somebody buy 10,000 copies of the book as a way to launder money into the campaign. Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's so many ways that having that term gap, I think would provide a great opportunity to relieve us of some of these people that just don't ever seem to go away.
Interesting concept. I like it, Steve. Thank you very much for your telephone call. It is 2:31. I am Pamela Furr, in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.231, I'm Mac Morey with your top stories. Right now, 79 degrees in Nashville, and it's starting to feel a little bit more like fall weather is creeping in. Highs in the mid-80s and lows in the mid-60s these next few days. Got a full weather forecast in 2 minutes. Another negative COVID test for President Biden, so his overseas trip is a go. Karen Travers.
The White House says President Biden again tested negative for COVID on Thursday, his fourth negative COVID test in 4 days. The president has been testing and monitoring for symptoms since First Lady Jill Biden tested positive on Monday. Mr. Biden set to depart for India Thursday evening for the G20 Economic Summit. He'll also make a stop in Vietnam. The White House this week would not say what contingency plans it was making in the event that the president tested positive for COVID.
Right now in West Tennessee, a man died on Saturday, September 1st at a Tennessee Valley Authority plant in Brownsville. Matt McPherson was working maintenance on a plane when a faulty gas pipe burst, crushing his arm and severely injuring his head. TVA is investigating the death currently. And a month after Maui's devastating wildfires, boots on the ground are mostly focused on search and recovery efforts. Pentagon spokeswoman Sabrina Singh.
The department continues to support the island of Maui. As of this morning, approximately 674 DoD personnel, including 567 National Guardsmen, are actively engaged in the coordinated response to the western Maui wildfire.
And that is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Mac Maury, WTN News.
Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is the Matt Murphy Show. I am Pamela Furr filling in for Matt Murphy today, and tomorrow he'll be back on Monday. I think some of the other hosts, I know for sure Dan Mandis talked about this morning. I want to, as we end this segment, as we end this program now for this last half hour, I want to address this because I find it interesting. Now, I was sort of a fan of Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, sort of. And I preface it by saying I like the fact that he was a police officer, a New York City police officer, before he decided to run for mayor. So he had boots on the ground. He had, information that others may not have had in that office. So for that reason, out of all the candidates that were running, I thought he was the better. He's still a flaming liberal. So don't get me wrong. He has liberal ideologies. He's a liberal. But he is a liberal that had the uniform on. So I'm going to give him some credit for serving his city and apparently serving it well in that capacity. All that to say, now he's whining about what he says is an absolute crisis of critical proportions there in New York City. And I find that just so interesting and hypocritical and hilarious. If it weren't for the fact that a beautiful city is now in the crapper again. And it doesn't have to be this way. Now, I want you to listen to what Eric Adams has to say. And notice what is missing from this speech that he gave in his city, I guess yesterday. Listen to this.
I don't see an ending to this. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut every service in this city.
Boo-hoo.
Is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000. I'm telling you now, with 110,000, the city we knew, we're about to lose. And we're all in this together. All of us.
All right. Did you notice something missing from his speech? Instead of speaking to his people, have you organized? Have you stepped up? Have you to try to conquer this problem? He should be calling out Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas for this problem. And those words were never spoken. In fact, part of his speech, at one point he said, it started with a madman down in Texas deciding he wanted to bus people up to New York City. 110,000 migrants we have to feed, clothe, house. We have to educate their children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need. Welcome to the party, Eric Adams. What do you think they've been doing in Texas for years? And because of Joe Biden, it became increasingly worse because he got rid of the Donald Trump policies that were actually working. Welcome to the party, pal. What do you think was happening in Nevada? Nevada, I guess they like to say. And I actually meant Arizona. I didn't mean Nevada. What do you think was happening in Arizona? What do you think was happening in New Mexico and California? Welcome to the party, pal. Indeed, many of the migrants have been bussed in from southern states like Texas and Florida as conservative governors of these states look to put some of the migration pressure, some of the burden on progressive governments. And I think it's only fair to share the wealth, don't you? Especially when you're talking about mayors and cities who have said, we're a sanctuary city. We don't arrest them here. We welcome them here with open arms. So what did we say? Okay, here you go. It also should be noted that these migrants, the reason why we are calling them migrants, they're asylum seekers. They are not undocumented. They do have documents, but they don't have work permits. And they are required to wait months to receive them after applying for asylum. The problem is, who is tracking them? We've talked about this so many times. When I went to the border on the plane ride back, the plane was packed, trust me. And so I was sitting on a window seat, and then there was a migrant sitting right beside me, and then one of our state lawmakers was the third person in our little row. And I kind of glanced over. I tried to talk to the migrant. The migrant didn't understand English, and he was going to pull out his app and try to get some interpretation going or whatever. But he had in his hand his papers. I could see them plain as day in this clear folder, and he was flying to Dallas. And then from Dallas, I saw on his papers he was going to Boston. Who knows if anyone was going to pick him up, if anybody was going to meet him there? Who knows? How is he tracked? Don't know. But you have a lot of people arriving, whether it's on planes or buses or whatever the case may be, with no place to go. Now, I'm not heartless. I feel for them. I would hate to be one of those who's sleeping out on the streets, who's sleeping in a tent somewhere, who doesn't know where his next meal is going to come from, let alone clean water to bathe in, to drink, whatever. I'm not heartless. But Eric Adams should be calling it out where it should be called out, not at Abbott from Texas, but Joe Biden from Delaware. Joe Biden, who's sitting in the White House clueless. Kamala Harris is supposed to be the border czar. Where's your indignation for their inaction? Where are the words calling out the madman named Alejandro Mayorkas, who's supposed to be keeping our homeland safe? Adams warned that the city's services will be affected by the incredible additional expenses on the budget. He has previously stated the city is planning on cutting services such as library hours, meals for senior citizens, free full daycare for 3-year-olds. Oh no, the 3-year-olds. Meanwhile, the buses full of migrants continue to arrive, with at least 4 unloading on Port Authority in just 2 days. While the migrants used to come mostly from Venezuela, as you heard the mayor say in the statement just a moment ago, now they're coming from all over the world. While officials have not revealed how many hotel rooms have been designated for migrants, hotel industry experts believe it's as many as 10,000. 10,000 hotel rooms that New York City's paying for. Is that not insane? The U.S. Department of Homeland Security recently dispatched a small team to New York City to help determine how the federal government should respond. I'll tell you, I've got it. It is so simple. Close the border. Or if you're seeking asylum, stay where you are until we can have your court hearing. Stay in Mexico. Easy. It's not complicated, and we've made it extremely complicated. Again, when I call for closing the border, by the way, I don't mean closing trade. I also don't mean closing off those who do have work permits, who are permitted to work here. I don't mean that. Those border towns, they need the migrant workers from Mexico to work in those factories and those plants there in the border town. If they shut down the border and don't even allow that, that could have a detrimental effect on the economy here in the United States. I'm talking about closing the border to people who are seeking asylum by the thousands. Thousands. Stay in Mexico until your case can be heard. That would solve a lot of problems, would it not? It's easy. And then go after the cartels. I feel your pain, Eric Adams, but you're calling out the wrong people here. You need to take a look at your own party, your own people, and your own president. For crying out loud. It is 2:50. I'm Pamela Furr. I'm in for Matt Murphy on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
President Biden on his way to the G20 World's Summit. A Louisville police officer shot this morning and in critical condition. Some sad entertainment news concerning a former TV star in NFL football. It's back. Those stories and more coming up 3 o'clock. Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
You said the words that mean so much to me. Football is back. Woo! All right. Thank you, Mac. All right. It is, 2:58, something like that. We check in with Brian Wilson, who is the host of The Drive, to find out what's coming up on his show today. Hello, Brian.
Hello, Pamela. Listening in. Great job there. Great conversation.
Thank you.
I'm going to start today with a poll that if the left is paying attention, and they probably are to this one, will put them in absolute shock about their chances for Joe Biden being reelected.
Oh,
because the numbers are really amazing, and there's one Republican. They did a run on who could win in a face-to-face matchup between all the Republicans, and there's one candidate out there who it was very surprising, and how that shapes up.
I think I know what you're talking about, and I won't reveal, but that shocked me too.
Yeah, but I mean, it was something I went, wow, that's something I did not anticipate.
Right.
And those numbers are, these numbers are really quite something. They were so shocked that the anchor, when they started the show, this was the first word out of her mouth.
Oof.
Oof.
I'm glad that's all it was.
All right. We'll have that coming up on The Drive.
All right. Thank you very much, Brian Wilson. That's it from me. I will see you tomorrow. It will be a Friday show. We'll do Freak Out Friday. I know that's one of Mac's favorites. And then we'll also visit with Jay St. Clair on Friday, if you will, to talk about some legal issues as well. It's all tomorrow. Brian Wilson up next. Have a good one on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.